Yeah, go further into what DeNovo is doing now, I'd love to hear about like how you guys are planning to help create. Would you call it vegan infant formula, or how would you refer to it? Vegan infant formula?
Yeah, so I guess it's once again it's going to be one of those hybrid approaches. I think so.
Hmm.
Maybe just a bit more context on the protein we're working on.
Yeah, please.
It's a protein that typically comes from breast milk, and currently we get it from bovine milk because we can't exactly harvest anything from humans.
Right.
But it still comes in very small concentrations in milk, so it's very scarce and it's very expensive. But it's imperative for infants from a developmental point of view. But the problem is that you don't actually find it in a lot of infant formulas because it's so expensive.
Hmm.
So you don't even find it in current infant formulas. So, I mean, our approach is to sort of supplement even the dairy-based infant formulas with this protein because it's so important. But what it does allow is sort of the evolution of infant formulas into more vegan products as well, like sort of that bringing it closer and closer to what you would get from your mother, but you don't actually need to get it from animals anymore. So I think it sort of has both elements, which is quite exciting. And I think the first evolution is naturally just to sort of solve the big problem at the moment, which is the current infant formulas just don't have it, except for the very, very premium ones. But,
Hmm.
that's not fair that only some babies get it and the rest don't just because it's so expensive. But
Right.
it's vital.
But how did you isolate that molecule or protein? Because you said we can't harvest this thing from humans, but isn't so it's not possible to take human breast milk and isolate that? And yeah, if you can walk me through that, because I really
Yeah.
don't understand any of this.
No worries. So, I mean, you can isolate it from human breast milk, but I guess it's unethical because you can't just farm humans. So typically we get it from bovines. But what we're doing, so our technology is very cool because we're using yeast, which is a very simple organism, but it's very, very efficient. Its metabolism is very efficient. And so we program the genetics, which is identical to what you would find in either human breast milk or in bovine milk. So
Okay.
we're working on both, just for clarification.
Right.
And then we insert that code into the yeast. So we don't even have to look at a cow or a person to do it. There's no actual genetic material coming from a live source. It's
Hmm.
all programmed on a computer. And then we insert that into the yeast, and then we grow the yeast, and then that yeast produces those proteins. So that protein is identical to what you would find either in human breast milk or in bovine milk. So
Okay.
that way we can create an absolute nature identical replicate protein without ever having to get it from a cow or a human. So that's very powerful because now we can start creating human proteins specifically designed for humans, which you can't get now because it's unethical and I guess a bit weird.
Right. Sure. Um, yeah. Because I guess when I meant like harvest from humans, I meant like if you can take, because I know sometimes people will use bovine serum to create this cultured meat, and so I thought maybe if you had like breast milk, you could isolate the molecule and take that, and you wouldn't need that much to start to replicate. So it sounds like you're going to be able to make infant formula just generally across the board much more nutritious for infants. And is this going to be, I guess, at scale? Is it going to be commercially, I guess, viable for even like the poorer parts of the population as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So to jump onto your previous point, I mean, you can grow from cells.
Hmm.
That would be more on the cell culture side. That we're not doing cell culture. Cell culture does allow for producing a couple of other elements as well, but the technology is a little bit more complicated.
Okay.
I'd say it's a little bit behind precision fermentation in terms of scale. So, I mean, to date, in terms of cell culture, I think there's one or two companies that are entering the scaling process.
Right.
With precision fermentation, it's quite new in the food space, but I mean, with pharmaceuticals, they've been producing bioidentical molecules like insulin, for example, for over 30 years. So
Hmm.
there are companies out there that are fermenting other proteins at scale.
Right.
So I guess the only caveat is now, coming from a food perspective, we can drive the cost down because we don't have all the pharmaceutical challenges and grades and specifications and all that sort of stuff. So,
Right.
the technology is scalable. It has been scaled, and from a food perspective, we can drive that cost down quite a lot, making this protein, which is currently incredibly expensive and scarce, more
Hmm.
available and cheaper, so that it can go into each and every infant formula, so that it's not just a premium product anymore.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that, because it's, you have a lot of people, in certain spectrum of the political conversation, that are saying, like, everyone in the Western world essentially starts out the same, and you can be whatever you want, and all of these things that I think are a little bit fantastical. Like, they're a bit they're not real, because even to your basic level for what we're talking about, like, the best protein to feed your child, which is the building block for their brains, their body, how everything functions, is too expensive for a lot of the population to even be able to afford. So I didn't even know that. So that's really amazing that you'll be able to. I hate the word, but, like, democratize this animal protein for infant formula. And